All right, shalom, and welcome to another Bible study that Yahweh has enjoined unto us here in this body of Yahshua. My name is Esaac ben Israel, and I am the elder priest of the United Congregation of Israel. And I'm joined here with one of my fellow priests, Priest Mishael. Shalom, my brother.
Shalom, brother.
All right, so we're going to get into a few things tonight. We have a question about the AstraZeneca announcement. So to bring people up to speed, I'm gonna read an article here from Newsbreak, and it was specifically by the Independent. Now, what's interesting about this is that we're gonna show a few things about this. So we do have a graphic for that. So I want you guys to show that graphic about this article here, and it says AstraZeneca withdraws, I can't say that word, the jab worldwide after admitting it can cause rare blood clots. Now the interesting thing is, are we going to get hit with the fact checkers if it's an actual article? Because there are all kind of situations where stuff gets taken down if you say certain words. But the fact that this is their article and not someone else saying it, you wonder if you're still going to have some pushback. Now, I'm going to read a few things from the article. It says AstraZeneca is withdrawing its jab worldwide months after the pharma giant admitted the drug could cause very rare but life-threatening injuries. Now, what's interesting is people have been saying this from day one. People have been saying that, that there were issues, and I having to, have been very, very highly affected by this situation. I had battles among healthcare people telling me, how strange it was that I would not believe the science. And, the strange thing is that in itself is a really crazy statement. Believing the science, like there's only one science. That is one of the dumbest statements, but it caught on because everybody kept saying, believe the science. And, this thing caught hold and it really divided people. So it says the British-Swedish drug maker has already withdrawn its EU marketing authorization for this medicine, and it's called Vaxzevria since 2021. The authorization is the approval to market a drug in EU's member states. The withdrawal was due to a surplus of available updated vaccines. Now, here is where things get interesting on how the information is put out. Now, if you look at the graphic, there's a person from the WHO talking, and they're saying their part about this information. What's funny is the video that accompanies this in Newsbreak says something completely different from the writing. Now, the video says that, of course, it keeps pushing that you should still use it. So this person that you see in the background, that's the person who's talking. And their information is, opposite of the written information that's right under it, which is absolutely interesting. So you have an article, and the article gives two opposing views. And normally when there are two opposing views, they write it like one person says this and one person says that. But these two opposing views almost look like they go together. And most people are going to click the play button and not read. So if most people went to this article they're going to hear something different than what they would have read if they actually, took the time to read the article. So that's quite interesting. So the official withdrawal said that it was due to a surplus of available updated medicine. So because there were so many others updated, it says that that's why this was withdrawn. But as we keep reading, it says the application to withdraw the jab from the EU was made on March 5th and came into effect on May 7th. As multiple variant jabs have since been developed, there are a surplus of available updated jabs. AstraZeneca said, adding that this led to a fall in demand for Vaxzevria, which is no longer manufactured or supplied. AstraZeneca. Now, what's interesting is the person who's talking from the WHO said you should still use it. The rewards outweigh the risks. And it's very interesting how that person is saying that. It says AstraZeneca recently admitted that its jab, initially called, I can't even read that word, could cause very rare side effects like blood clots and low blood platelet counts. It's kind of interesting that Yahweh says the life is in the blood. And most of the way that the adversary kind of attacks things is through the blood. It's like he's got a real push into trying to get us to eat food that's not fully cooked, so we deal with the blood. You have even the sickle cell, which is directly related to the blood, and a whole lot of people said that this a whole lot of research that the increased mercury helped bring that on to where almost all of us are walking around, meaning our people, have some kind of trait or something dealing with this sickle cell. But once again, it is a blood situation. So, and then you have this thing that they had to have known right off the rip that it had blood, related problems, but everybody was pushed to do it so much, in fact, that people were attacking one another if a person didn't, receive this treatment. I was in an office and I heard a person say, "If you haven't taken the medicine, I don't even want you standing near me." And this was bold and loud. So it's not always popular to stand on the side of your belief. And if you're planning on being vindicated the next day, then you may as well not even stand, because that's not how vindication works when it comes down to problematic issues. We're talking about years later now, years later. It says the admission came after the company was slapped, excuse me, with a class action lawsuit in the UK. Now, that wouldn't even happen here because it can't happen here. There are laws that protect the makers of certain things so that you cannot bring a suit against them. So this would have to have taken place in the UK because it could not have taken place here. So sometimes when we read something and we say, okay, this took place in the UK, well, it wasn't here. Well, it couldn't have. It would have never went forward, which claimed that the jab had caused deaths and severe injuries and sought damages up to 100 million euro for about 50 victims. It is admitted that the AZ medicine in very rare cases causes TTS, The causal mechanism is not known, AstraZeneca said in court documents in February. TTS is thrombosis with thrombocytopenia syndrome, which is characterized by blood clots and low blood platelet counts in humans. And recently, a lot of us have started to notice that you have these rather young, healthy ball players who are just dropping. I mean, they are going away, and these are physically strong people otherwise, you know. So what changed there? I'm gonna jump down. It says AstraZeneca's admission that the medicine could potentially prove lethal ran counter to its insistence in 2023 that it would not stop that TTS is caused by the medicine at a generic level. In April 2021, the World Health Organization also confirmed that the medicine could have fatal side effects. So I guess one of the things is it's, you know, pushing that to just this one, but then there are other issues that are being said about other ones, other makers of these same types of things. It says a very rare adverse event called thrombosis with thrombocytopenia syndrome involving unusual and severe blood clotting events associated with low blood platelet counts has been reported after receiving this medicine. Now, it says in a statement, AstraZeneca said, "We are incredibly proud of the role Vaxzevria played in ending this global situation. According to independent estimates, over 6.5 million lives were saved in the first year." How you know that? You see how, you know, it's very interesting in how things are reported. And just saying that, this one, if you go back to the article, and it says withdraws after admitting it can cause rare blood clots. Okay, go to the next graphic, because I want you to see something and notice something. So when you try to search on it, all of the other things in the search, none of them say about the blood clot. Everything in the search says low demand. So you look at all of these things that come up in the search, not one thing about the actual issue. So then it's giving you the thought process it's like it's giving you the story to put in your head that it was because it was so many other things available, it wasn't needed. But then you have to go and read the article. So all of those things said, if you looked at those, it said about just the availability. All right. Now go to the next graphic. I want to go to the Associated Press one, and it mentions that it was pulled from the European market, but it doesn't say that. It didn't try to throw you with it was just a low count, you know. So now we're getting into which news organization you're going to sort of listen to. So this one says the pharma giant AstraZeneca has requested that the European authorization for its jab be pulled, according to EU medicine regulator. And an update on the European medicines website, the regulator said that the approval for Vaxzevria had been withdrawn at the request of the marketing authorization holder. There was one thing that was rather interesting in here. It says AstraZeneca's jab was first given a nod by EMA in January 2021 within weeks. However, concerns grew about the jab's safety when dozens of countries suspended it after unusual but rare blood clots. That said, what year was that? 2021.
Yeah.
And the announcement came yesterday. But this happened in 2021. The EU regulator concluded AstraZeneca's jab didn't raise the overall risk of clots, but doubts remain. So once again, an official report came out that said it didn't. So let's go down. This is where gets interesting, because this article says, and it doesn't try at all to say that it had anything to do with how many units were available. I mean, that's not even in here. It then says billions, okay, with a B.
Wow.
Billions of doses of the AstraZeneca medicine were distributed to poor countries. Now, this Associated Press, so if anybody want to fact check, or, if they throw the video, then, they do what they do. But billions of doses of the AstraZeneca medicine were distributed to poor countries through a UN coordinated program, as it was cheaper and easier to produce and distribute. But studies later suggested that the pricier messenger from Pfizer, BioNTech, and Moderna provided better protection. So this is the other part that eventually the UK pulled it and went to the other one. So that right there is I guess the question of what do we think about it is just dealing with the amount of time that you have to stand on something when everybody else says that you're wrong. When everybody else, while I was, in a hospital bed, chained to that bed, I'm getting, heckled and all of this by a person who was supposed to be helping, and they were very adamant about, you should go ahead and do this. So it's very, very difficult to stand on something that you believe in when everybody else is saying something otherwise. And that's the thing that we have dealt with in this word for many years. As we've gone further along, more and more people are starting to hear, and all of a sudden we're hearing mainstream pastors say Yahshua and Yahweh. Wait a minute. These things were unheard of 10, 15 years ago. These things were just not being said. You would not hear it. So it made anybody who believed in the word that we were teaching that, they must be in a cult. But all of a sudden, when Joel Osteen says Yahshua, now all of a sudden it's real. See, it's like you need the validate, and this is part of our, broken psyche, that somehow we need, a lot of us, the authoritative figure, in i.e. a slave master skin tone, to tell us that it's okay, that it is right. Now, what's interesting, we would have said this 15 times, and they didn't hear it. And then when they hear it from someone else, all of a sudden, it's something. This deep information was just provided. It is utterly amazing how that works. You got something there, Mother?
to say that while we were talking about that medicine being sent over by AstraZeneca to poor income nations, Reuters in Brussels reported on April 14th that poor nations have refused tens of millions of that AstraZeneca medication. They declined it.
So, you know, what was actually saying, and this is one of the things that I was trying to tell people from the beginning. How do you know the dose that you got is the same as what was distributed over town? So, and even if, like right now, they have it separated by manufacturer, but even the same manufacturer has different lots. So those lots have lot numbers, okay? So lot 172 may go to this town. Lot 181 may go to that town. Even though that was made by the same company, there may be more issues with one lot than was with another. So this whole thing of trying to look at, well, was it this brand? Did I get this brand or did I get that brand? This will lure us into a real false sense of security that we say, okay, well, I had this one, so I don't have to worry about that. I mean, we'll end up doing something and they'll say, you know, you're just watching the news and they say such and such brand of food was tainted with salmonella. It's not all of it. They got a lot number. It's all the stuff that came from a certain area and it went to another certain area. That's the contaminated lot. So we have to get out of this thing, because I know a lot of people are going to already say, you know, I feel safe because, you know, I didn't take that one. So that's our thought on that. We did have another question here. Says, awesome Bible study that night. And I should have gotten to this by now. Sorry about that. It says, I've got to buy all new workout clothes, LOL. This was about the clothing. And it says, this wasn't my initial question when starting, but must our hair as women be completely wrapped if going out of the home, or is covering with the scarf okay? I have sister locks longer than some scarves, and the ends show or are out. Is this acceptable? Is it head covered or hair covered? That is an amazing question. Let's go to 1 Corinthians chapter 11. And I want to look at something here. And even though there's a lot there, we can sometimes go into a lot of things, but then there's also some simplicity that we need to stay in. 1 Corinthians 11, and I'll start at verse 14.
Do not nature itself teach you that if a man have long hair, it is a shame unto him? But if a woman have long hair, it is a glory to her, for her hair is given her for a covering. All
right, so if we look at this, and you know, I've had people say that before. Well, if she got hair, she already has a covering. But even when you talk about it is a glory to her, this is where we can say, because there's a lot of other things that we can go into, but the point I want to stay at is right where it is a glory to her. But ultimately, whose glory is it? Huh? Whose glory is it? That glory belongs to somebody.
Her husband.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That glory belongs to somebody. And to get to that, let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 21. And when you go into that, then you can see where that covering that is given her needs to be covered. Not just a situation of I can just cover the head part, Because even in what we had read, it says, if a woman be not covered, let her be shorn or shaven. And if it's a shame for a woman to be shaven, then let her be covered. All right. So, what is it talking about? Why did it go from covering to shaved? Why was that there? Deuteronomy chapter 21 and start at verse 10.
Verse 10. When you go forward to war against your enemies, and Yahweh your Elohim has delivered them into your hands, and you has taken them captive, and seized among the captives a beautiful woman, and has a desire unto her that you would have her to your wife, then you shall bring her home to your house, and she shall shave her head and pare her nails.
All right, she shall shave her head and pare her nails. What happened? At this point, the glory of her former husband is being removed. Her hair starts back growing with this new man. That's his glory. What was shaved off was the other man's glory. So now we're talking about something way deeper than if it's just the head. It's like, you have to sometimes just go a little bit crazy with it. Okay, so let's say a woman is 5 feet, and they say, this is a skirt, and the skirt is 5 inches. Then you get a woman who's 7 feet, and she got the same 5-inch skirt. We got a problem, don't we?
Yeah.
We got a problem here, don't we? So then it can't be, hey, this is the same size as hers. Yeah, but you ain't the same size she is. Now we got an issue. So the longer the hair, the longer the covering. So these are the things that we have to deal with. Of course, there are times when we, might be rushing, we doing something, we do a little relaxed something, but there should always be a form of covering there. And these are things that we're going to understand greatly when it's time to get out of this country. See, as we're, all of these are questions here. These are questions in the daughter of Babylon. When we come outside of the daughter of Babylon, we're going to see really a whole new world and all these other cultures, and you're going to see the issues that certain things present. And when we see what comes with that, it's going to automatically persuade us to walk differently. When we see that attention that we were craving ends up being a horrible, degrading thing, we're going to change that. So let these things be our practice when it comes down to that. I want to go to Habakkuk chapter 2. See, part of this whole setup is to give us a way to walk away from the culture that Yahweh has given unto us. When you talk about the invasion of the Gentiles and entering into Jerusalem, we must understand that before that, and this is why you have this war going on now, before that you had the Arabs there. So you have all of these different empires who have fought for, this lands, and everybody says it's theirs. So then the adversary understood, okay, coming in, we got to get these people out of their culture. So gymnasiums and all of these things were built in the holy cities so that our people would start to participate in the things that the Romans and the Greeks did. Now, when you understand how they did it, then you'll understand why it was a problem. Because, we say, man, what's wrong with a gymnasium? when you understood their definition of a gymnasium, now you understand some of the stuff that happens today. Now you understand why, you can go in the locker room and people are undressed and just walking around in the locker room. Well, these people come from places of public baths. Public baths, okay? We're talking about what we would call a swimming pool. But everybody is dressed or not dressed like they going in the bathtub. So it's a public bath, but it's a pool. So you can see how the introduction of this then starts to get our people operating in a culture that they didn't know. So this became the push to get us to accept those things. So let's go to chapter 2.
Quick comment.
Go ahead, brother.
No, on that public bath, when I was in the Navy in Istanbul, Turkey, that was my first time experiencing something like that, and it was in a public market. And at that time, it was even strange to me, you know what I mean? And it was, I didn't take part in it. Actually,
Don't try to tell us you ain't go to the public bath.
I mean, I did.
You had on a slingshot?
But it was a shocker to me, man. It was like an eye opener to me, like, wow. It's like, man, no public shame, no nothing. I'm like, it's just normal.
Well,
yeah.
Once you normalize something, that is what is used to take away the shame. It's one of the things that shame is supposed to be there so that we won't do certain things. It's one of the things that Priest Kish went over in one of his classes about, the judgment happened in front of everybody. Why? So that there would be public shame, so that there would be a push. It says all the children of Israel, so that everybody would know not to do this. And the adversary, the devil, does what? Instead of hiding it, we're going to pull everything out and put it in the open, so that once you remove shame, now it's regular. It's like, hey, man, it's Tuesday. Whoa, that's normal. Once you normalize it, and this is what the television programs, the commercials, the songs, all of these things are presented for us to normalize, a lot of things. And some of these things are normal in private. They are not normal when it then goes into the public side. So these are ways that the adversary uses to get us to walk away from Yahweh's culture. Habakkuk chapter 2, and let's start at verse 1.
Chapter 2, verse 1, Habakkuk. I will stand upon my watch and set me upon the tower, and will watch to see what he will say unto me, and what I shall answer when I am reproved. And Yahweh answered me and said, write the vision and make it plain upon the tables, that he may run that readeth it. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not tarry. Behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him, but the just shall live by his faith.
The just shall live by his faith. This comes in various, normally inopportune times in our lives, where we have to stand on something and there's just no evidence that we are right. Faith is about believing in the thing that are unseen. And it says that this stuff started coming out with that medicine in 2021. The announcement just came yesterday in 2024. So all the people who stood on it when everybody else said something else, they are now saying, wow, I made the right stand. But how many of those people were ridiculed? How many of them were ostracized? They were like, no, y'all can't come over here. Because I remember a whole part where you wasn't allowed to come over people's houses if you didn't have a certain medicinal information. They blocked you from the gatherings. And it's so funny that that was so strong at that point, and now nobody talks about it. Because here's the thing. Once something is in your bloodstream, what need do they have to push it anymore? Because at this point, how much more is it going to spread among us as we interact with one another? So even though we may say, hey, I didn't participate in the medicinal program, what happened if, my kids procreate with somebody who did? See, these are the things that we won't discuss. And those things have real merit there, so that, does it pass on a genetic issue going down? And we know that by some of the things that have already happened to us before. So let us not just be happy and, run around joyous saying, well, I didn't take it. All right, well, you still interacting with people, right? You're still going to have kids, though, right? Your kids are going to try to reproduce, right? Well, then now there's that question that's still hanging out there. Go ahead.
Yeah, also, because he transgressed by wine, he is a proud man, neither keeps at home, who enlargeth his desire as hell, and has death, and cannot be satisfied, but gathered unto him all nations, and heaped unto him all people. Shall not all these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, and say, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his. Mm-hmm. How long? And to him that ladeth himself with thick clay, shall they not rise up suddenly that shall bite you? And awake that shall vex you, and you shall be for booties unto them, because you has spoiled many nations. All the remnant of the people shall spoil you, because of men's blood, and for the violence of the land, of the city, and of all that dwell therein. Now,
it's interesting that, we can read in here and go, and it's talking about shedding men's blood. It says because of men's blood. But now we have a whole nother issue about man's blood, and it ain't coming out their body. Now we have a whole nother blood issue. He says, because you have pursued blood, blood shall pursue you. And here we go with these issues, because if your blood has an issue and your blood is traveling all over your body, of course, it is going to cause issues. And if it causes issues in different ways among different people, then that then gives the powers that be a way to hide. See, the only time we will try to connect the dots to something is if it happens the same way. Like, I grew up in an area that was very, very close to an airport. Matter of fact, it was too close to the airport. And apparently, as they were getting close, they had some kind of history of dumping jet fuel. Everybody in that community was catching cancer. Now, I was, born in the neighborhood, but there were people there before me. My grandfather died of cancer. The people on each side of my mama's house. My mama lived down the street from my grandma. Each one of those people had cancer. But the thing that allows the powers that be to hide, all of those people had different cancers. It was not the same cancer. So you couldn't draw the line and say, this thing caused all us to get sick. So because one got into their bloodstream, it caused a different issue with all these different people. So before, all of us figured it out, the airport then came with a buyout plan. And they bought out all of these houses under the pretense that they were going to expand the runways. that happened when I was in the 4th grade. There's not one expanded anything now. It is an empty neighborhood, has been empty for 40 plus years. To this day, I can ride by it, and they took all the houses gone. And we still didn't know. In the house buyout was a little line of release of them or what have you. Okay, so here it is. Now we're adults, and who's to say that later on, a brother might have an issue, and he's like, hey man, how did you get this? Come to figure out, it might have been in me, that whole time, from growing up drinking the water. We didn't find out many decades later that that was a plan. They bought those out, because of that. And say, hey, go back and look at your paperwork. It's a waiver in there. Wow. So that's what those houses were bought off for, to keep all of those people from suing one by one once they found out. So even if we, now that we know it, there's nothing that we can do. So even going back to the beginning situation of what we read, we have to consider that this took place in the UK. It could not have taken place here because, some of the releases that you sign, I can't believe that we ever took any of that medicine. When you read those waivers or those releases of what all it said, it starts talking specific things could happen to you. And you don't just like go in there like one time, sign it, and it's over. You're checking all of this stuff. It is horrible. And if it's hard for me at this point in my life for somebody to tell me that something is safe, and you ask me to check off all of these things. If it's that safe, then let's just do it. Why do I need to sign all of these things if it is as safe as you say it is? Go ahead, brother. Keep reading.
Verse 9. Woe to him that covet an evil covetousness to his house, that he may set his nest on high, that he may be delivered from the power of evil. You has consulted shame to your house by cutting off many people, and has sinned against your soul. For the stone shall cry out of the wall, and the beam out of the timber shall answer it. Mm-hmm. Woe to him that buildeth a town with blood, and establish a city by lawlessness.
All right. So woe to him that builds a town with blood and establishes a city by lawlessness. Now, I want to go to another article here. And this article is from the Times of Israel. And it's talking about antisemitism surging. The report finds prompting fear for future of Jewish life in the West. It says the U.S. saw a 103% increase in incidents fueled by the Gaza war. It is amazing how all of these statistics come out. They don't have no statistics on us. It is utterly amazing. I mean, they got a real statistical machine. It run all the time. A global report for 2023 shows, while France stands out with near quadrupling of cases. In 2023, France registered the highest increase in recorded anti-Semitic, and we know that, that's code word for anti-Jew, because it doesn't apply to any other Shemitic people, and I loosely use the word other. All right, it doesn't apply to any Shemitic people. Let me go ahead and correct that. Okay, so this is a word that is specifically used for just one group of people. Now, you can be anti anything else. That's altogether something different. But this is all about just one group of people. So it says France registered the highest increase in recorded anti-Semitic incidents of any country with reliable statistics, according to data released in a new report that warned that current trends could threaten the very ability to lead Jewish lives in the West, which is interesting because all of the financing to establish the state of Israel came from the West. Mm-hmm. This is utterly an interesting whole thing here, because all of the military war power, even now, okay, who's putting in all of the money for the efforts or the war in Gaza? That's coming from the West. So it's interesting that the quote anti-Semitism is coming from the same area that all of the money is coming from to support the place. That's quite interesting. It says published Sunday by Tel Aviv University and the Anti-Defamation League. The report showed a near quadrupling of incidents in France from 436 in 2022 to 1,676 last year. It also highlighted anti-Semitism on U.S. campuses. And if you guys have been paying attention, there's been a lot of protests about, the war in Gaza. And it's hard to call that a war when you look at it. You know, it is a straight annihilation of, some people who don't have, they got homemade weapons and all of this stuff, and then you're talking about drones and sophisticated things that came from the West. Mm-hmm. So much, in fact, that the state of Israel has gotten amazingly good with producing weaponry. Because after you give them something, they're gonna reverse engineer it and start figuring out how to make one of those on their own. So, but people watching all of this, it always infuriated people. When people watch the Vietnam War on television, what did they do? They rioted. And they rioted in this country about America's involvement in another country. Of course, they're going to have some problems with people saying, why are we doing all of this over there? Of course, there's going to be a problem there. When people see the images of war, it always causes an issue. It says of last year's anti-Semitic incidents in France, the tally showed that 74% happened after October 7th, when invading Hamas terrorists killed some 1,200 people in Israel and abducted another 253. Now, there's been a whole new law passed about anti-Semitism and what it is. So that in itself is growing. So the numbers about anti-Semitism has to grow because the definition itself is growing. Merely saying that someone has done something against you, if that person belongs to a certain group, you are now labeled anti-Semitic. So this individual can rob me. This individual can take my belongings. When I then say that this person has taken it, I am now being called a racist because I say this is the person that robbed me. So that is pretty interesting. And these laws are being passed not in that state. It would make sense that you couldn't go to Israel and talk about Israel. Mm-hmm. It makes sense that you can't go to Iran and talk about Iran. It does not make sense that you can be in America but can't say something about a bad policy of the state of Israel. It does not make sense. It would even make sense if they said, hey, you can't talk about bad American policy. We wouldn't like it, but it at least makes sense. This is that land, and you can't talk about that land while being in that land. But now we have laws about another land that you can't speak about in this one. And people are starting to be infuriated about it. They are really starting to really get upset about that. It says in the United States, the tally more than doubled from 3,697 incidents in 2022 to 7,500 last year, with 52% of the 2023 total occurring after October 7th. So after this event, which we know that certain events help fuel war. So one of the things that one of the brothers was saying was when Iran started, shooting all of these missiles, and they were able to shoot down every one of them. How is it that these bunch of people came in with homemade hand gliders? I mean, they got Glad trash bags taped to a kite, and somehow they took away over 1,000 people. Now, did they get them back on the hand glider? Did they run? Did they make the hostage run too? Did you run and then you? How is that possible? But you shot down everything that came from a professional military. But these dudes in Walmart jumpsuits was able to come in there and do all of that damage. Something about it just does not sound right. So some of those things is leading that it might have been allowed to happen so that some other things can take place. Let's go to Zephaniah chapter 3. That's the next book behind it. Zephaniah chapter 3.
Appreciate it.
And start that at verse 1.
Verse 1. Woe to her that is filthy and polluted, to the oppressing city.
Now, Yahweh has law that says, if we shall go to war against those who oppress us in our land. From the beginning, a lot of things have been said that, hey, this is expanding territory. But we know the history behind expanding territory if you link it to your God-given right. I mean, it was manifest destiny that got us the West here in America. And that just, the manifest destiny mean that you were not held responsible for any of your deeds. The Crusades did a lot of things, so when we mention that, a lot of times we like to leave out the parts that our people or the West had something to do with. We leave that out, and we talk about how oppressive somebody else's agenda is. Go ahead.
She obeyed not the voice. She received not correction. She trusted not in Yahweh. She drew not near to her Elohim. Her princes within her are roaring lions. Her judges are evening wolves. They, was that gnaw not the bones till tomorrow. Her prophets are light and treacherous persons. Her priests have polluted. Her priests have polluted the sanctuary. They have done violence to the law.
Now, you just went through the whole governing body. We're talking about judges, prophets, priests, all have an issue. And if you're going that deep, then Yahweh is sitting there watching as our ruling body decays. Because at this point, you're talking about, man, everyone has gone after his own way at this point. Go ahead.
The just Yahweh is in the midst thereof. He will not do lawlessness. Every morning does he bring his judgment to light. He faileth not, but the unjust knows no shame.
The unjust knows no shame. So somehow the powers that be make sure that they normalize certain activity so that the unjust will never be shameful. They will never have the shame, so you can't shame them. Go ahead.
I have cut off the nations. Their towers are desolate. I made their streets waste, that none passes by. Their cities are destroyed, so that there is no man, that there is none inhabitant. I said, surely you will fear me. You will receive instruction, so their dwelling shall not be cut off. Howsoever I punished them, but they rose early and corrupted all their doings. Therefore wait you upon me, said Yahweh, until the day that I rise up to the prey. For my determination is to gather the nations, that I may assemble the kingdoms, to pour upon them my indignation.
Check this out. My determination is to gather the nations. See, a lot of times people gather together, you know, when folks don't like something, they gather together to express their dislike of it. Yahweh uses that to gather them. He says, determination is to gather the nations, that I may assemble the kingdoms, to pour upon them my indignation. So they think that they're getting together for one thing, but they're getting together for judgment. So that he can go ahead and render the judgment all together instead of running here and running there and running there. My elder used to say all the time, the people that have a problem, wait long enough so that they can all gather together, and then you can get rid of them all together. So you keep going one by one, you'll be getting rid of folks all this time. No, wait. Let them get everybody who's sympathetic to their cause. And then go ahead and send them all out. Go ahead.
Even all my fierce anger, for all the earth shall be devoured with the fire of my jealousy. For then will I turn to the people a pure language, that they may all call upon the name of Yahweh, to serve him with one consent.
Right. And our thing is, we say we believe in Yahweh, but then we limit him. You know, he says, then will I turn to the people of pure language. It was Yahweh that scattered us. Yahweh knew that the children of Israel were going to speak different languages. That was the whole purpose of having the book translated. He can't turn around, kick us out of the land and say, you can only know Hebrew. You can only read this in Hebrew. What kind of sense that make? The first generation didn't know Hebrew. Once we get kicked out, boom, that's done. So it's interesting when somebody tells or brags about how many generations their family have been speaking this language. You're only telling me that this ain't you. That's all you're telling me. It brags some more. He says this pure language, that was the whole part about the gift being passed out upon the day of Pentecost, if you will, the Greek term. The need for them to be able to understand each other, that was what the cloven tongues was, that each man heard them in his own language, because the children of Israel had already been spread apart. And that was then. That was during the first years of the church. If that was needed then, what do you think is needed 2,000 years later? Sometimes we can be so smart and just, but,
No.
and stuck on stupid, because that's where we want to be. Mm-hmm. We don't want to change that thought process because we like something about it. But if it was needful in the book of Acts, which is the first years of the church, how could it not be needful 2,000 years later? Go ahead.
From beyond the rivers of Ethiopia, my suppliants, even the daughters of my dispersed shall bring mine offering. Mm-hmm. In that day shall you not be ashamed for all your doings, wherein you have transgressed against me. For then I will take away out of the midst of you them that rejoice in your pride, and you shall no more be haughty because of my holy mountain. I will also leave in the midst of you an afflicted and poor people, and they shall trust in the name of Yahweh. The remnant of Israel shall not do lawlessness, nor speak lies.
Nor speak lies. And sometimes, man, we have normalized lying that it's just so common that it becomes somebody's go-to anytime they get into any kind of situation. The lie just run out. And people lie sometimes so much you can look at them and tell that they lying. And you just let them talk. You know, I remember a point though in my growth that I couldn't do that. I remember a point when I knew you were lying, boy, I had to jump on top of the table. You know, I remember. But you know what? Blessed be Yahweh. Because he gives you calmness in your spirit and you just go on about your business. Because if you ask another question, all you're going to do is get another lie. So why you ask another question? Go ahead.
And bro, I remember when I had a little consult with you about somebody was lying and it got under my skin, and I just jumped in the guy, and I ended up kind of doing a little damage to the person that was really trying to protect me. And you was like, man, why you did that? Because all you can just keep lying and just make it worse and worse, and just remove yourself from the situation. That's all you was saying. But my bad, man. It just brought me back.
No, man. I mean, hey, those are little parts. Because when you think about it, there are these little bits of growth. As it is written, here a little, there a little. Line upon line, precept upon precept. We grow like that. But we don't just wake up, you know, we get baptism on Tuesday, and then you know, Thursday we floating down the hall. That ain't never gonna work. You know, it's a bit by bit situation. As things are being pulled out, other things are being put in. That's Yahweh rearranging our heart, our bodies, our soul, our spirit. He's moving some things. So some things you might think he's getting rid of, he's just cleaning that up. He said, no, you're gonna need that. So even some of the things where we might be aggressive, instead of taking away the aggression, he teaches us how to use the aggression so that it could be used for his purpose. Yep. You know, at a point when a brother say, you know, hey, people are bringing in things in the holy city at the Sabbath day, and then they lodge it on the wall. So the children of Israel said, okay, we understand we're not supposed to, you know, do all of these things on the Sabbath. So what did the heathen do? Lodge about the walls so they can sell stuff to Israel, knowing that Israel not going to go to the store, Israel not going to do such and such. But when it's presented to Israel, now we're trying to figure out, well, you know, I mean, it says do not go to those, you know, that buy or sell. I have not gone anywhere. I am right here. And then this is right here. I am cheer. It is cheer. We need to get cheer. See, that now a brother got to come in and say, you lodge about this wall one more time, trying to bring things into Israel, and I'm going to lay hands on you. Now, that brother used his aggression for the right thing. He didn't use that aggression to say, oh, you talking about me? You said something about me? That's not what he used his aggression for. His aggression was used to set something right in Israel. So that's the thing, and it's a process that Yahweh is going to work with us on, you know, being renewed in the spirit of our mind so that we process things differently. Go ahead.
Neither shall a deceitful tongue be found in their mouth, for they shall feed and lie down, and none shall make them afraid.
And let me tell you something. That's a really hard push, because the children of Israel, true children of Israel, have been assaulted so much. To lie down in safety is a tall act, because we know that we can just go on the wrong side of town and we don't feel safe. I'm talking 30 miles away from where you live. It's a place that you know, hey, look here. Hey, don't be, hey. I said, look at here. We need to be out over here before it get dark now. Come on. Hurry up with it. That's what you're doing. And that's a short span away from where you live. There are places like that all over the place. So then when we go to traveling long distances, every time something happens, we have to look and try to figure out, okay, am I in one of those places? Because those places are spread out everywhere. And they may just be a little, a short drive away from you, but let you have a flat tire in the wrong area, and you know, I better hurry up and get this taken care of. Go ahead.
Verse 14. Sing, O daughter of Zion. Shout, O Israel. Be glad and rejoice with all the heart, O daughter of Jerusalem. Yahweh has taken away your judgment. He has cast out your enemy. The King of Israel, even Yahweh, is in the midst of you. You shall not see evil anymore.
Now, when we talking about the joy and restoration of Israel, there's some things that's going to have to happen for this. Now, when we talk about this, we know that this in no way, shape, fashion, or form resembles the state of Israel at this point. And the state of Israel has been in existence since 1948. So we don't have anything like this happening now. So when is it supposed to go down? We're talking about 70 years and we still don't see it. Matter of fact, it's war just like it was day one. Today is just like day one. Go ahead.
In that day it shall be said to Jerusalem, fear you not, and to Zion, let not your hands be slack. Yahweh your El in the midst of you is mighty. He will save. He will rejoice over you with joy. He will rest in his love. He will joy over you with singing. I will gather them that are sorrowful for the solemn assembly, who are of you, to whom the reproach of it was a burden. Behold, at that time I will undo all that affect you.
I will undo all that afflict you. All of those people who have done you wrong, I will undo them. Go ahead.
And I will save her that halted, and gather her that was driven out. And I will get them praise and fame in every land where they have been put to shame.
Wait a minute. Yahweh says, I will get them praise and fame in every land where they have been put to shame. So if the state of Israel is already in existence and it's been in existence in 70 years, why is there not praise? The article we just read said that it was increased anti-Jewism in all the land. Wow. But wait a minute. If they are his people and they have returned to the land and have been in that land for 70 years, what's going on here? Did Yahweh lie?
No, he didn't.
So something don't sound right.
It don't. I'm like, so they always trying to get that sympathy thing, right? And by doing that, it's like it's putting them to shame, meaning that it's causing so many people around the world to hate them. That's what we have in all these protests and stuff like that.
And that shame come with a check. See, people been sending money. They just ain't been sending, condolences. No. It's a check that came with that. Finish that up in verse 20.
At that time will I bring you again, even in the time that I gather you. For I will make you a name and praise among all people of the earth, when I turn back your captivity before your eyes, said Yahweh.
Now, the interesting thing that he's talking about is turning back the captivity. The one thing you will not hear about any of this is a captivity. You'll read about this war happening here. You'll read about anti-Semitism. How is it that we don't talk about captivity? How is it that we do not deal with that? That is just something that is that is utterly amazing. The one thing you have to realize about, Yahweh and how he deals with the children of Israel. When the children of Israel do not do what we were told to do, then he punished us with captivity. A lot of times what we end up having trouble with is when we get into an area where we don't know the boundaries. And somehow other nations don't have that problem, but it's very easy. We were created to be his servants. His punishment was, if you do not serve me, you're going to serve your enemies in your enemy's land. Even the punishment does the same thing. We become rule-based people. A slave has to operate by rules. We were already his servants. We had to operate by rules. When you see all of a sudden we get caught up in corporate America, then we get confused because there are rules, but then we realize that nobody abides by them until one day somebody gets hauled off. And normally that person look like you. So you then realize that these rules then are not actually made for the other people. This is how we get into our most, biggest part of trouble, because we are rule-based people. It was the children of Israel that stood there and said, all that Yahweh said we will do. Rules. We are rule-based individuals. So then when you get us in a scenario where the rules change, we have to change everything in us to be able to survive in that environment. And the adversary, the devil, knows that. He uses that. That's why they push us to go to corporate America. You're going to lose all your rule-based, direction dealing with this. So we have to be in these things without losing that rule-based part of how we were made. This is how we were created. So a lot of times we are fighting that because we're trying to fit in the situation that we've been placed in. So then we're saying abort that mission, and your body keeps pulling you right back to it because that's what it was created to do. It says, at that time I will bring you again, even in the time that I gather you. For I will make you a name and a praise among all people of the earth when I turn back your captivity before your eyes. But what we do is, because we have been inundated with all this other culture, we're fighting it. Let's go to Genesis chapter 19, because there's something that we need to get the concept of. And sometimes we're dealing with so many other aspects of something that we deal with it in just the part of how it is written, and sometimes we have to take ourselves and put ourselves in that. And there's a graphic for this, Genesis 19. Go ahead and start that at verse 12.
And the man said unto Lot, as you hear any besides son-in-law and your sons and your daughters and whatsoever you has in the city, bring them out of this place. For we will destroy this place, because the cry of them is waxing great before the face of Yahweh. And Yahweh has sent us to destroy it. Mm-hmm. And Lot went out and spake unto his son-in-laws, which married his daughters, and said, up, get you out of this place, for Yahweh will destroy the city. But he seemed as one that mocked unto his sons-in-law.
Right. He seemed like he's mocking, hey, Yahweh about to destroy this place. Let's go. And they laughed at him. Go ahead.
And when the morning arose, then the angels hastened Lot, saying, Arise, take your wife and your 2 daughters, which are here, lest you be consumed in the lawlessness of this city.
Now consider that. You can be consumed in the lawlessness of the city. See, this is one of those things where we go get a job and we start hanging out with other people. What's happening? We starting to get consumed by the environment. Now we start to hang out where they hang out. Now we start to do the things that they do. Before you know it, we've turned our culture in for theirs. Go ahead.
And while he lingered, the man laid hold upon his hand, and upon the hand of his wife, and upon the hand of his 2 daughters, Yahweh being merciful unto him, and they brought him forth and set him without the city. And it came to pass, when they had brought them forth abroad, that he said, Escape for your life, look not behind you, neither stay you in all the plain, escape to the mountains, lest you be consumed. And Lot said unto them, Oh, not so, my Adonai.
Now, this is a difference that we don't see. A lot of times, like you'll go read in the New Testament and say, oh, you know, Lot, this righteous man, vexed with all of this stuff that happened. When Yahweh tells Abram or Abraham to go somewhere, he goes. When he tells him what to do, he told him to go to a place, and I'm going to tell you, like go to a place which I shall tell you. But what I'm saying is walk now. But I mean, where I'm going, I mean, I tell you, walk now. Just walk that way. Yeah, but you're not even going to tell me. Not only am I not going to tell you, but gather up your whole family and just go that way. Now, gather them up, and I'll tell you when I tell you. Matter of fact, I tell you what, I gave you a special seed, right? It's sacrifice. The obedience of him was something altogether different. Now you understand why Yahweh did not want them near one another. Here it is. We're talking angels come to get Lot. And they're not coming to get Lot because Lot is an amazing, wonderful guy. They are coming to get Lot because Lot means something to Abraham. Mm-hmm. That's it. And what does he do? Oh, not so. The angel telling him where to go. Now we have to ask ourselves now, if some of the things that happened unto him would have happened if he had taken the angel's direction. See, here we go. Here we go with there's direction coming from the Most High, and we say, oh, not so. Go ahead.
Behold now, your servant has found grace in your sight, and you has magnified your mercy, which you has showed unto me in saving my life. And I cannot escape to the mountains, lest some evil take me, and I die. Behold now.
Some evil took him. Some evil took him twice.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Behold now, this city is near to flee unto, and it is a little one. Oh, let me escape thither. Is it not a little one, and my soul shall live? And he said unto him, See, I have accepted you concerning this thing also, that I will not overthrow this city, for the which you have spoken. Haste you, escape thither, for I cannot do anything till you become thither.
Then check this out.
Wow.
I can't do anything until you come. Mm-hmm. See, I'm not allowed to destroy the city until you get out. I have specific instructions to take care of this business, but I got to make sure you out. Because see, here's Yahweh's deal. I don't need him to be destroyed and then it destroys my servant. And I sure don't need him to run over here scared and then have to live with my servant. So go ahead and get him out. See, sometimes people have been protected not because they were really good people, just because Yahweh didn't want them to ruin what he was doing with you. Go ahead.
Therefore, the name of the city was called Zor. The sun was risen upon the earth when Lot entered into Zor. Then Yahweh rained upon Sodom and unto Gomorrah, brimstone and fire from Yahweh out of heaven. And he overthrew those cities and all the plain and all the inhabitants of the cities and that which grew upon the ground. But his wife looked back, from behind him, and she became a pillar of salt.
Now, these are the things when we look at something like this, we say, okay, man, this has to there's no way that this could be true. And even when we look at it in only a natural sense. But spiritually, consider this. You know, we have to examine. She became a pillar of salt. We have to look at what a pillar is, and we have to look at what salt. Salt, if it's a thing of salt, she became bitter and therefore good for nothing pleasant. Now, this could be when we look at this and Yahweh says, oh, your wife has become a pillar of salt, but your wife might be standing there right there with you. She can be a pillar of salt and be sitting right there asking you what you want for breakfast. If she becomes bitter and therefore good for nothing pleasant, because she cannot let her old life stay behind her, no matter how unpleasant it was, because we are creatures of habit. So we have now habitually gotten connected to foul dealings. All right. So now we have to look at a pillar is a stationary object. So she became bitter and unmovable because she missed her past so much, she poisoned her future. Because too much salt does what? Oh, that meal is done, Jack. That meal done. I don't care how beautiful, how it look, how delicious it normally is supposed to be. Put a mountain of salt in it. Ain't nobody eating that. Now it's good for nothing. Okay? You know, it talked about Rahab the harlot. Go ahead and get Rahab and come out. But guess what? She couldn't continue to be a harlot. She couldn't say, in the old land, what I would do is I would, right around dusk. Right around dusk, I get dusky. Now you can't do that in here. You can't. That old life had to stay her old life. And sometimes these are the things that bring us or really limit us from growing. So the adversary knows if they can get into us and give us a part where we are habitually doing certain things, then that habit will kick in whether we are trying to or not. Well, I always hang out here. I always do such and such. That's what the adversary wants to get in us, so that when we do find out about Yahweh's culture, that we're going to fight it. And we'll fight it tooth and nail because we've gotten accustomed to something else. Let's go to 2 Peter chapter 2. Started at verse 1.
Verse 1. But there were false prophets also among the people, even as there shall be false teachers among you, who privily shall bring in damnable heresies, even denying the Adonai that bought them, and bring upon themselves swift destruction. And many shall follow their pernicious ways by reasons.
Many shall follow. Now wait a minute. Many gonna follow. So things are being presented to us so that we will follow. Go ahead.
By reason of whom the way of truth shall be evil spoken of, and through covetousness shall they with
Feigned.
feigned words make merchandise of you, whose judgment now of a long time lingereth not, and their damnation slumbereth not. For if Elohim spare not the angels that sin, but cast them down to hell, and delivered them into chains of darkness to be reserved unto judgment, and spare not the old world, but saved Noah, the eighth person, a preacher of righteousness, bringing in the flood upon the world of the ungodly, and turning the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah into ashes, condemn them with an overthrow, making them an example unto those that after shall live ungodly, and deliver just Lot, vexed with the filthy conversation of the wicked.
Now look at how it mentions and delivered just Lot, vexed with the filthy conversation of the wicked. Keep reading.
For that righteous man dwelling among them,
The most righteous, he had righteousness. He was raised among Abraham, but he wasn't on the level with Abraham. See, we have to understand there's levels in this thing. And you could have somebody, he's more righteous than these other individuals, but Yahweh is not trying to let him hold down and keep Abraham from the blessing and the promises that he has for him. Go ahead.
in seeing and hearing, vexed his righteous soul from day to day with their unlawful deeds. The Adonai knoweth how to deliver the godly out of temptation, and to reserve the unjust unto the day of judgment to be punished.
The Adonai knows how to deliver the godly out of temptation. Not that they're not going to have it. The Adonai knows how to deliver them. He will cause some situations where you will accidentally do right. You ain't try to do right. Matter of fact, you tried everything you could to do wrong, and you accidentally did right. Several times it has happened to me. I wasn't trying to do right. Everything I was trying to do was wrong. And I found out later that everything broke in a way that it would not allow me to do what it was I was going to try to do. And I realized, man, later, he done forced me to do right. Even when we look at, we were, looking at a building and all of these things, we ended up getting a place where the part of the sanctuary, that's a completely separate building. They built something and connected one building to the other. Thereby, the sanctuary is always sanctified. It is completely separate from the other building. Yahweh will trick you into doing right. You don't even know you're being tricked. Matter of fact, you'll be so used to it, and then you'll look up and say, "Oh, I didn't even notice that this was like this." Right? He wanted to already get you accustomed to it before he revealed to you what he had done. Go ahead.
Verse 10. But chiefly them that walk after the flesh in the lust of uncleanness and despise government.
If they despise government, they despise order. If they despise government, they can't be ruled over. Yahshua said, these have a problem that I should not reign over them. See, we'll respect the government of the land, but disrespect the government of Yahweh, and think things going to work out good for us. Go ahead.
Presumptuous are they, self-will. They are not afraid to speak evil of dignities.
Right. They're not as afraid to speak against any of Yahweh's servants. Because at the end of the day, they question whether or not they're really Yahweh's servants once they don't agree with them. Go ahead.
Whereas angels, which are greater in power and might, bring not railing accusation against them before the Adonai. But these, as natural brute beasts, made to be taken and destroyed, speak evil of things that they understand not, and shall utterly perish in their own corruption, and shall receive the reward of unrighteousness, as they that count it pleasure to riot in the daytime. Spots they are, and blemishes, sporting themselves with their own deceiving will they feast with you.
Sporting themselves with their own deceivings while they feast with you. A lot of times we want to partake in feast, not understanding that every Sabbath day is a holy day. See, we like to deal with the holy days. How about deal with a holy day? One come every week. Go ahead.
Having eyes full of adultery, and that cannot cease from sin, beguiling unstable souls, and heart they have exercised with covetousness practices.
Covetous practices. Go ahead.
Curse children.
Right. The covetous practices is what help curse the children. The covetous practices are then handed down. We teach the covetous practice to each generation, thereby cursing our own children with the covetous practices that we're teaching them. All the while not knowing it, though. Go ahead.
Which have forsaken the right way, and are gone astray, following the way of Balaam, the son of Bosor, who lived the wages of unrighteousness.
Love the ways of unrighteousness. Go ahead.
Sorry about that. But was rebuked for his lawlessness. The dumb ass, speaking with man's voice, forbade the madness of the prophet.
Mm-hmm.
These are wells without water, clouds that are carried with a tempest, to whom the mist of darkness is reserved forever. For when they speak great swelling words of vanity, they are lured through the lust of the flesh, through much wantonness. Those that were clean escape from them who live in error. While they promise them liberty, they themselves are the servants of corruption. For whom a man is overcome, of the same is he brought in bondage.
While they promise them liberty, they themselves are the servants of corruption. They're going to promise you something that they themselves don't have. Go ahead.
For if after they have escaped the pollution of the world through the knowledge of the Adonai and Savior Yeshua the HaMashiach, they are again entangled therein and overcome, the latter end is worse with them than the beginning.
The latter end of them is worse than at the beginning. If we have tasted of his goodness, we have partaken of these things, we get in that water, we become born again, and then decide, you know what, I'm gonna go back out into the world. So now we're worse off than we were to start with, because now we got all of that on top of the betrayal of Yeshua, because we were baptized unto his death. We were baptized under his blood. That now carries a weight. It doesn't mean that we have that we're going to be perfect in everything. We're going to fall. We're going to go through our own situations, but then we get back up. But to stay in those things, meaning that we are not trying to get back up. But it is the things that we put our attention to. We understand we got to make money. We gotta pay bills. But then the adversary will use the desire to do those things and use that against us, so that while we are justifying ourselves by the money that we have made, we are also condemning ourselves at the same time and not knowing it, because we are then using that to say, well, that's why I couldn't do this. And then taking on the practices of the individuals that are around us. Go ahead.
Can I make a quick comment?
Go ahead, brother.
Man, it just continues to amaze me how the spirit works, man. Because last night, I call him a ex brother. Sent out a text to me, wanted me to pray for him. Mm-hmm. And I sent him a couple scriptures and explaining to him why I can't honor that request. And I think at the end, I put the scripture right here just to give them a better understanding of, like, you know, why I don't consider you a brother and why I can't. Because I'm like, bro, you've been baptized and you've been gone for a while out there just doing whatever that you want, not considering, like you just mentioned, the holy day with the Sabbath, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I personally seen you done some stuff on the Sabbath showing that you don't have no regard in that, you know what I mean? And I think one of the things I also said was like, thus said Yahweh, obedient is better than sacrifice. And I kind of left it at that. But it's just amazing how the spirit worked, man.
Hey, brother, when things start to go down, then people remember, okay, I know where some people could pray for me, and I Yahweh might hear them before he hear me. But wait a minute, you were among those people, and you dealt with those things until, you know, you decided or some other things changed. But then when turmoil shows up, you know, you want to, you know, go back to those same people, and you know, it's sometimes, man, we wait because we're so tough. You know, we're not going to admit any defeat until the time that we are completely defeated. You know, you have let those things, that pride keep telling us, you know, you can do this, and we keep getting further and further down. If we just step aside, let pride go on down the hill, these questions could have been asked before the individual was at their wits' end and damn near at a destroying point. You know, you haven't just now figured out, you know, my number. You ain't just now. These things have gone on too long. And if we just stop trying to act like we can handle everything, that we have all this power, and what ends up happening is we wait way too late to call on our Elohim. And then we want this miraculous miracle, and I need it by 4:45. You put yourself in a bad situation at this point. So, and we have to think about it. How disrespectful would it be for us that, you know, you have a loved one, relative, whatever, and they know they haven't paid whatever this bill is, and they haven't said anything to you, you know, they let this draw out, right? And then you get a call, and they said, well, we got 15 minutes to pay the rest of the bill, or these people finna go and start snatching my stuff out of here. Wait a minute, you knew that for 2 months. You knew that for 2 months. Them people just didn't decide 15 minutes ago that they were gonna come and do all this. That means this person has zero respect for anything that you had going on. For 2 months, you sat here and looked straight-faced, like nothing was going on. You could have at least gave me an opportunity to figure out, okay, how can I finagle and help you? But a lot of times people like the surprise factor. I'm going to ask you in these last 15 minutes, and thereby giving you not enough time to think.
Exactly.
See, that's strategy. So now you're trying to help this individual, and you move a little bit too fast and make a move, and then this time tomorrow you saying, man, I can't believe I did that. So to some people, that is, you know, their strategy to pull other people's into their situation. Go ahead.
Verse 21. For it had been better for them not to have known the way of righteousness than after they have known it to turn from the holy commandment delivered unto them. But
didn't the foolish virgins want something from the wise? Yep. But at some point, the wise have to say, "No, I can't give you my spirit. Oil is a symbol of the spirit. I can't give you my spirit. I'm sorry. You know, I can do some things for you, but I tell you what, I can't give you my spirit." And if I ask my Elohim to do something that may not be in his will, but he do it for me, guess what? I just gave you something, my spirit. Because where he going to take that from? Where he taking that from? The spirit that came off of Moshe and then went on 70 elders. That spirit came from somewhere. Okay. So am I willing to give up my spirit to help somebody else? And are they going to do the same for me? Matter of fact, they don't have nothing available to do it for me. Go ahead.
But it is happened unto them according to the true prophet. The dog is turned to his own vomit again. And the sow and the sow that was washed to her wallowing in the mire.
In the mire. So the sow is a pig. The dog is returned to his own vomit again, and the sow that was washed to her wallowing in the mire. You can't clean a pig. The pig has to go get right back in the mud because it uses the mud to cool itself. So it's talking about this is how he likens us when we decide that we've tasted of the goodness and then turn and go back into dealing with the ways of the adversary, the devil. So that is a pretty heavy thing, but because we're trying to provide for our families, we then give that and use that as an excuse to keep going in that way. Let's go to Luke chapter 12. You know, this is why the adversary kind of taunted Yahshua. You see all of this? It's all given unto me. And I give it unto whom I will. All you got to do is bow down and worship me. So there is that need for the things that we desire to have to take care of ourselves. Well, the adversary dangles that over us and use it to hold us hostage. Luke chapter 12, and let's start at verse 13.
13. And one of the company said unto him, Master, speak to my brother, that he divided the inheritance with me. And he said unto him, Man, who made me a judge or a divider over you?
Now we would think that Yahshua wants to deal with, righteous things. Man, did this have anything to do with my father? Or did it been, hey, go to the court. Don't come to me with that mess. Who made me a judge or a divider over you? Go ahead.
And he said unto them, Take heed and beware of the covetousness of a man's life consisted not in the abundance of the things which he possesses.
Now, it's hard for us to wrap that around our head because we go to work to get money. And he said, take heed and beware of covetousness, for a man's life consists not in the abundance of the things which he possesses. But we'll spend all our time working to get more and more money. And then that thing then justifies us to not do other things. It is a real deceptive cycle that you have to fight over and over. Because just when you think you're out of it, the adversary done threw you right back in that loop. And when you get on the spin cycle, man, it's hard to get out that spin cycle.
Yep.
Especially when you in it. It's hard to get out there and press that button. Yeah. Go ahead.
Verse 16. And he spake a parable unto them, saying, The ground of a certain rich man brought forth plentifully. And he thought within himself, saying, What shall I do? Because I have no room where to bestow my fruits.
Yeah, I got all this money, man. I ain't even got no place to put it. Go ahead.
And he said, this will I do. I will pull down my barns and build greater, and there will I bestow all my fruits and my goods. And I will say to my soul, soul, you has much goods laid up for many years. Take time, ease, eat, drink, and be merry. But Elohim said unto him, you fool, this night your soul shall be required of me.
Required of you.
Of you. Then whose shall those things be which you has provided? So is he that layeth up treasure for himself and is not rich toward Elohim.
Now, if you look at this part, so is he that lays up treasure for himself and is not rich toward Elohim. Then you go back to the things of Revelation. It says, I know your trials or tribulation, for you are rich, but you are poor. Then he goes to somebody else and say, you are poor, but you are rich. What are you talking about? There you go right there. You laid up treasure for yourself and you have monetary gain, but you're still poor. It's folks riding around in a Bentley and they poor. Why? Because they don't have a spiritual account. See, there might be some of us who are poor, but we're rich. Why? Spiritual account on swole. Now, that one I got at Bank of America, it look a little funny. It look a little funny. But that one that I got at the Bank of Yahweh, it's totally different. See, so that's what he's dealing with here. So we will allow these other things to push us so far that we make all kind of compromises to make money, and then realize that we have spent so much time in that we haven't done anything for the kingdom. And even a wise investment person says, diversify your portfolio. So you didn't put all your money in one thing, did you? You didn't. You know, if that one thing go bad, you going bankrupt. Well, all you have is this one account, and you don't have anything in your spiritual account. You're gonna go spiritually bankrupt. What have you done on this spiritual side of it? What have you taken? See, even a wise man know what Yeshua said. You should have at least taken my money and given it to the exchanges, and then I would have had mine with interest. Okay, so if I spent so much time over here, at least I can take some of it and put it over here in the Bank of Yahweh. So I got something in my spiritual account. Because, see, I don't know when something going to happen, and I'm going to have to say, look, I need that spiritual rainy day fund. But if I ain't putting nothing in that account, my spiritual account, it's going to come back NSF. It's going to come back insufficient funds. We can't do this. And then if the person you calling to pray for you, they ain't heard from you, and I don't know how long, now you have an issue. But let that not be so with us. That's all that we're going to do for tonight. Let's go ahead and leave out with the prayer. We're going to rise and face the east. Abba Father, Most High Covenant Elohim of Abraham, Esaac, and Yaakov. Abba Father, we thank you for allowing us to do this work for you. We thank you, Father, for giving us some form of understanding of your word. We also pray, Abba Father, that you would magnify our understanding, that you would magnify our thirst for your word, that we would keep seeking it, Abba Father. We pray, Abba Father, that you would cause the stony heart in us to leave, for the powers that be, the land of Babylon pushes us to be harder and harder to make it, and we have to adjust ourselves for that. But we pray, Abba Father, that let it not be so that we be stuck in those ways, that we would allow the fleshly heart to return, whereby we may be obedient unto your laws, your statutes, your judgments, your commandments, your ways, Abba Father. Let us be committed unto them. We pray, Abba Father, that as we get closer to the times of us making our appearance, that you would see us as we make our appearance, Abba Father. We pray that you would allow your angel to adjust our prayers for the things that you know that we need. And we ask these prayers not only for those that gather with us physically, but even those that gather by way of phones and by way of internet, those that seek you out of the truest heart that they can have to serve you in truth and in spirit. In Yeshua HaMashiach's holy and divine name we pray. Amen and hallelujah.